Sure.
Open-ended intro.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Curran. I don't think there was a moment that I realized my screen time was too much. It more was just like a slow, crushing realization over time. Realizing, like, oh, it's not like I spent 8 hours today or 6 hours today. It's 6 hours every day for the last couple years. Or I would just notice that my girlfriend would get frustrated in a conversation with me because I wouldn't be that engaged. Or even if I didn't have my phone, my attention span wasn't really all there. But it just got to the point to where I was like, I don't enjoy this at all. Like I can tell I'm depressed, and this is making me more depressed. But I don't know why I'm continuing to reach for that if I know it doesn't actually do anything. I thought using the light phone would solve all of my screen time or online problems, but I think it actually just makes you aware of like the problems that you have, or it's kind of like if you buy a blender, it's not going to mean that you're going to make smoothies every day. Like you still have to like buy the ingredients to like make the smoothies and stuff. But it just made me more aware, like, oh, I don't like I'm transferring this time to other stuff, like just being on my laptop, and that's been something I've had to be aware of is like, am I coming home and just like opening up my laptop and immediately like logging into Reddit or YouTube or whatever and just like getting lost in this like internet hole. I like built a little like cubby under my bed that shuts, and I can put my laptop in there so that when I come home it's not just out and I just flop down on the couch and open it. I have to come and sit down and or just stand and figure out like what am I going to do. And I look around the room and I see like the piano or the guitar or some of my cassette tapes or records or chess books or other books or whatever, and I just think like, oh, I should do one of that because it's like it's out in front of me, and I think to do that first as opposed to just being on the computer. Not really. I mean, I don't even use the music or the podcast tool. That wasn't like a selling point for me on like why I needed it. I will occasionally add the podcast tool if I'm going on a long drive. Um, there really haven't been any major things. I mean, like I feel like if it didn't have the hotspot, that might be something that I would have wanted. Sometimes more settings is nice, but it also is like paradox of choice that like the more stuff you have, the less satisfied you ultimately are. And it's like, I don't know, it'd be like going camping and being like, if I just had air conditioning, it's like, well, it's kind of the point. Like you're camping, like because I don't have a camera. It's just bringing cameras with me everywhere I go, whether that's a film camera or a digital camera. Most of the time it's been film. And then that way when I leave, it's not like, oh, I can take 100 photos of this thing. It's like, well, let me ration how many photos I actually am going to take and need to take. I still have like Google Photos, and if I take pictures and then I develop the film, I can add them to, I can get the scans of them and then add them to those photos, and I'll just print them as photo books. So then it's like, there were probably only 20 pictures I took over the course of a year that I'm actually going to want to sit and look at and be like, wow, not like, oh, that burger I ate, like, let me look at that again. Like. Yeah, I don't send text nearly as much anymore unless it's something I actually need to say. But I do make a lot more phone calls. So, and I think at first people were a little freaked out or not freaked out, but just like, oh, that's weird. Why is he calling me? Is everything okay? And it's not like if I really need to text out a big long message, I can. I've done it plenty of times. I've texted probably 3 paragraphs before in a single text and hit send. So you can do it. It just is, it's not even that it's slow. It's just the way the phone is designed, it's not designed to do that. Also, when I'm on the phone with somebody, I used to just put it on speakerphone, and then you just, while they're talking, you scroll through like Instagram or whatever. And you can't do that anymore. Like I'll still put it on speakerphone, but then I just actually have to be part of the conversation and listen, which is good. For my favorite thing about the object itself, just the phone, is the e-ink. I love the e-ink so much. The other piece of technology that I regularly use is a Kindle, and I like them both for the same reason: is they're not addictive to look at. They don't make your brain feel all fuzzy or crazy right before bed. The backlight is like doesn't blind you or whatever. And it just blends in very well aesthetically with like the surface of the phone. I would say every time someone sees the phone, they comment on it and they're like, "Is that a phone? What is that?" And then I usually just take the passcode off of it, like I unlock it and just give it to them and let them use it or play around with it. Or I'll be like, "Oh, call yourself or text yourself or whatever," just to show them how it feels. And everyone always likes having it in their hands because it's so small. And I don't know, no one's ever been like, "That's dumb." Everyone's like, "This is really cool. That's exciting." And I'll say like, "Oh yeah, I noticed I was on my smartphone like way too much and I wanted to stop that." And everyone always is like, "Oh yeah, me too. Like, I would also love to do that." I'm like, I've had an experience that is caused by the light phone where I actually feel lonely, is when I feel like everyone around me is engaging in something. And before I would have just distracted myself, but now I will actually feel sadness because I'll feel like I don't know, maybe this is a little altruistic or a little, I try not to let the light phone or anything like that ever turn into like a holier than thou type of thing. A lot of people need smartphones and they do a lot of great things for them and stuff. But sometimes I just find myself wishing that like everybody else could also experience what I'm experiencing and like feel free or relaxed or, you know, whatever that sensation is that I wish they could feel it too.